I'd like to take these next few minutes to explore the lives of military veterans, enlisters, and workers from a variety of time periods ranging from World War II all the way until today. I asked people to take an introspective kind of moment and take a look at their lives as we listen to their stories.
It was the Japanese that started the whole thing. I mean, it was very sad.
How'd they start the whole thing?
By bombing Pearl Harbor.
December 7th, 1941.
How old were you when they bombed Pearl Harbor?
16.
You were 16 when they bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yes.
Do you remember?
I know exactly. It came over. President Roosevelt came on and announced war with Japan.
Okay.
And why?
And why?
That they were born. That they were bombed Pearl Harbor. And do you know how many? I don't know myself. How many boys got killed in that? And I'm sure people were so against Japanese. And that's why you had to live back in those days. Why make them rich? By buying their products.
My whole family pretty much has been in the Marine Corps at one point or another. Started back with my grandfather, he was in. My uncle and my father were both in. So it just kind of seemed like a natural thing to do.
The branch that I was in was the Army, and I was a combat engineer. Basically, it was demolitions, and we also did putting up emplacements, survivability positions, and other things along those lines.
I was working at a war plant. The plane was called a VOUGHT, V-O-U-G-H-T, Corsair, C-O-R-S-A-I-R. And it was a plane that the wings folded up. And I was working in a war plant wiring radios.
What was your first day of training?
It was a day you'll never forget. You know, it was having my grandfather in and my dad and my uncle in. I knew what was coming that day. You know, but even though I knew it was coming, even when it happened, that very first day, it was an eye opener. It's a totally different world. You really go from being like kind of a sheltered kid to all of a sudden you're an adult, and you don't get 4 years to have that happen. You get about 10 seconds to let that happen. So it kind of happens all at one time.
It was very intense. I mean, the very minute you get there, they're screaming at you, yelling at you, just trying to break you down mentally and physically, so then they can rebuild you back up.
My husband was in the war. It was called psychoneurosis, and it was due to a battle. He had a young man beside him, got killed right beside him. And it blew his mind more. He was that upset him so badly.
Post-traumatic stress, I think I had one incidence of it, and I'm not even sure if that's even accurate. What I did in Iraq was it's called route sanitation. We basically patrolled the main supply route looking for IEDs. And they would hide them different various ways. And one way was they would put them up beside a dead animal so that you wouldn't see it. You would just drive over it. You would drive past and they would detonate it. When I first got home, I was maybe home, I want to say maybe 2 weeks. I was just driving down the road and I saw a dead deer on the side of the road. And I just automatically just swerved out of the way like a panic.
Through boot camp, you see people like in boot camp that, it's a different way of life, and they're really trying to break you down. They're trying to take away your, maybe take away your personality, but they want you to operate as a team, and to do that, they kind of have to take away all the times or the opportunities where you say I, and start changing those into places where you say we. So some people don't handle that real well. So like I think in my experience, I think in the first couple of days we lost a good 10 people who just couldn't. It just wasn't for them, and they knew pretty early that they weren't going to be able to handle, this type of screaming at you and, doing everything as one and all that. Some people were kind of shamed by that, but I don't think they should be, because I think they tried. And, if it was easy, anybody could do it. So.
Did you know a lot of people that were killed in the war?
Yeah, a boy next door, the two twins, another one from Wingcoat.
I think, if you're to enlist now, I think it's you're likely going to be 18 years old if you're going to enlist now. I think you really need to look around and see what's in our government and what their motives are for doing what they do, because you could be 18 years old fighting somebody for really no reason at all. Maybe something doesn't even make sense, and you're going to be committed to doing that whether you believe it's right or wrong. And once you're there, you don't have a say in it. So I think it's really important to make sure that people who are elected in office are really sound and they're really making the right decisions.
When the war was over, I was in my living room listening to the radio, and President Roosevelt came on and said the war was over. And I remember him so well. He was a great president.
I think with Iraq that we do need to get out, just because I don't think it's getting any better, and I don't think the presence that we have over there now is making it any better. And Afghanistan, I mean, the original idea was to go over and eliminate the Taliban, but they're not there anymore. There's very small pockets of resistance, and I think they just both need to be downsized, if not eliminated.
With the Afghan war, going after bin Laden and all that, I think that obviously the right thing to do, considering what happened for 9/11, and the military eventually ended up, and the CIA and a lot of people finally ended up getting them, and that was a good thing. But I think now it's probably a time to move those troops out of there now.